Hello, and welcome to Chapter 6 Skill Review. I've already downloaded the worksheet as you can see here, and I'll go ahead and click Enable Editing. And then I'll go ahead and save my file again just to make sure that it's saving properly. Be sure and pay attention to where you're saving so you know where to submit from. I've opened up my instructions on another window, and so hopefully you have yours and you can follow along. This is a very long chapter, so make sure you follow along, and hopefully there'll be some points associated with this skill review. So here we're going to be exploring advanced functions. So there's lots of functions that you may not have seen before that will help you analyze your data and give you information rather quickly that would probably take you a long time to do by hand. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're looking at Step 3. Step 3 wants us to go to the analysis worksheet, so we're on there already. And it wants us to use the sum product function to calculate the total value of the inventory. Use the values in the selling price column. So we need to find that. And the corresponding values in the stock column as the array arguments. So we'll click in B2. And we'll do equal sum product open parentheses. Then it says click on the inventory. And so what we're actually building here is a formula or function that uses data from a different worksheet. So we'll click the inventory, and what we want to do a product of is the selling price and how much we have. So that'll tell us what our total value on hand is. So the first thing we need to do then is select the range that we want as one array. So G3 through G25. So we've got that up there. Then we're going to hit or type a comma. Notice the comma just went in there. And now we're going to select H3 through H25. And so what sum product does is it takes two arrays, and the first element in the array is multiplied by the first element in the second array, and then that's summed to the second element times the second element and multiplied by the second element in the other array. So hopefully you get what it's doing. And so that's just a very quick way of getting that multiplication and sum of those results all in one step. So once we hit the H25, as in all functions, you need a closing parentheses. And when we hit enter, it'll take us back to the original spreadsheet and give us a value. So the total value of inventory is $10,088.55. And we're going to work our way across this worksheet in order to get all the values we need. So we need the average selling price, the median selling price, the most common, and the most common multiple. So the average selling price then, this is step 4, is we would just use the average function inside of this cell D2. So we'll say equals average, and we need to know the average price, average selling price. We need to go back to inventory, and we need to select the range G3 through G25. So all I did there is I hit G3, I held down the shift key, I hit the N key and then the down arrow key instead of me just dragging or clicking. So let me show you how that works again. I click here, hold down the shift key, note down here, it's going to be showing where I'm going to do the end. So I hit end. So now I'm in end mode. Now I hit the down arrow key while still holding down the shift key, and that automatically selects an entire range. Then I do a close parentheses. That's not listed there. And I hit enter. Now, if I were doing this, on the job, I would probably name this range like inventory price, and that way I could just type in the range name inside of this formula instead of having to click on the worksheet and then highlight that range again, especially if I was doing it a lot. But this is the way they want you to do it. All right, so now we need to find the median selling price, and the median selling price is done with the median function. So I'll click on that cell, click equals median, so it returns the median number or the number in the middle of the set of given numbers. And click on the inventory tab, and there, highlight that again, close parentheses, hit enter. So that's the median selling price. Then it wants to know the most common singled value selling price. So we'll click in this cell, we'll click equals mode. That's the function for finding the most often occurring. We want the single one, so it returns the most frequently occurring or repetitive value in an array or range of data. So we'll hit tab, then we'll click on inventory, highlight that, and our formula should look like the one that's in the instructions, and it does. So then that's $14.39 occurs most often. Now step 7 says, what if there are multiple selling prices that are the most common? So maybe something is recurring over and over again, but it's not just one single entry. So that's what we want now. And so in this one, we're going to need to do a array function, and that works a little bit different than a regular function. So the array function takes a list and uses that as part of your arguments. So we're going to have to highlight our array first. So G2 to G5. Then we're going to say equals mode multiple. And then we're going to click on inventory again. And then we're going to select the cells G3 to G25. And now for an array function, you need to do Control-Shift-Enter. And when you do that, you should get a formula that looks like the following. Notice the function or the array formula has braces in front and back, and we saw the braces formula when we did the two-way data table. And so that created a array formula for us as well. All right. So notice here G3 to G25, same thing here. And as we work our way through this, it'll become clearer. All right, the next thing we'd like to find out of our data is the total number of blue shoes in inventory. And this will be step 8. And so the way we can do this is we can use the sum function, but we need to do some way of making sure that we're only looking at blue shoes. So the way to do that is to use the SUMIF function. So that is to calculate the total number of blue shoes in inventory. Use the values in the cost column as the sum range argument. Use the values in the item description column as the criteria range, 1 argument, and use the criteria star shoes to find all items that end with the word shoes. Use the values in the color column as the criteria range 2 argument, and use the criteria blue. So we're actually using 2 criteria. We need blue and we need shoes. And if we go to the inventory, we can see we have a color, and so we're looking for a color. So the question is where would we get the shoes from? And so if we look in this column, column A here, this is where we get the item description, we get the value shoes here. So in there, there's some kind of shoes. Now this is only 25 rows, so you can imagine how long it would take you if this was 2,000 rows. You know, something easy like this, you could probably sort on one of the columns, see where all the shoes are, and just sum that range and get blue out of those, and just sum those 2 that are blue. And so, but we're just doing something small here, and so that's a good thing to think about. If I had to do something at work that had a large number of rows, but I wanted to make sure my formula was working correctly, I would just use a small subset and work on that and make sure it returned the exact values that I need, and then I would move on. All right, so let's go ahead and build that total number of blue shoes in inventory. So we're going to click in B3. Then we're actually going to pick up the dialog box for the SUMIFs. We could have done equal SUMIFs, open parentheses, and started filling in the information. So we're going to pick out under Math and Trig this category. That's where the SUMIFs function is. Now, if we just have one criteria, we would use SUMIF. But if we have multiple criteria that we're looking for, then we have SUMIFs. So multiple criteria means more than one condition. So I'm going to click that, and so we've got the sum range and the criteria range. So what is it that we want to sum? So in the function arguments box, verify the cursors in the sum range arguments, which it is. Click the inventory sheet tab and click and drag and select H3 through H25. So what we're going to sum is this value here, which is how many we have in stock. So that's our sum range. Now we have to say, okay, out of that range, which ones do we want to sum? That's our criteria range. So we need to either press tab or click in the box. This is part D. In the criteria range box, we want to click the inventory sheet tab and click and drag cells A3 to A25. So in our criteria range, that's the data that we want to look in. We need that. And then we're going to need to specify what in that range exactly are we looking for. So for criteria 1, we want to type in quotes star shoes end quote. I should say beginning quote asterisk or star shoes. So what that means is looking for everything that might be in front of shoes. That's what the asterisk represent. And then shoes. So shoes has to be at the end. So another wild card, the asterisk is called a wild card. So another wild card would be the question mark if I knew a specific placeholder in the string that I'm looking for. What I mean by that is the question mark only takes up one space in a string that we're looking for. It's a wild card. The asterisk, it takes up many characters in that string. So that's the reason why we can put asterisk shoes here. All right, so that's one criteria range, one criteria. The next criteria range is going to be this color column. So I just want to look in here, and what am I looking for? I'm looking for, I'm putting that string in quotes, blue. Notice how the spelling is all lowercase. You probably want to keep the same case sensitivity for all of your criteria. So once we get done, it's building this formula for us. And if we had more criteria, we could add more. Okay, but I don't have any more, so I'm going to leave it at that. So it means there's 2 here. And because there's 2, it treats those as an AND condition. So it needs to be shoes and blue before I put it into the sum. I want to sum that range, right? This range, H3, H25. So if I find a match on that row that it's shoes and blue, then I'm going to put that into the sum area. And then I get a total of everything once I'm done. So I click OK. And it tells me there are 15 blue shoes in inventory. Okay. So that takes care of step 8. So I'm going to pause there, and when we come back, we'll fill out the rest of this information going across.